Okay, so picture this. A 9-year-old going head-to-head with the world's best in their field. Not just any field, but chess. We're talking grandmaster level. You submitted an article about how the age of chess champs is dropping, and let me tell you, this deep dive is seriously mind-bending.
It really is. It challenges our preconceived notions about experience being king, especially in a game like chess.
Totally. The article mentions that back in 1977, the average age for a new grandmaster was 30. These days, it's plummeted to 21. That's a whole decade shaved off. And it really makes you wonder what's going on.
And it's important to note, this isn't the case of one or two outliers. We're seeing a pattern here, a real youthquake at the highest levels of chess.
Right. It's like Magnus Carlsen, who became a grandmaster at 13, which is still incredible, would be considered practically ancient by today's standards. The article even mentioned a 12-year-old, Abhimanyu Mishra, becoming the youngest grandmaster ever a couple of years back. And then there's the story about an 8-year-old, Aswat Kaushik, who actually beat a grandmaster.
Yeah, it's remarkable. It's a trend that's hard to ignore. But one of the most striking examples the article mentioned was the Chess Olympiad. 5 9-year-old girls competing at that level. Unheard of.
5 9-year-olds! That's wild. I mean, I know the Olympiad's a big deal, but to put it in perspective for our listeners, can you explain what it actually means to play at that level, to be a grandmaster?
Sure, it's like reaching the pinnacle of any professional sport. But for the mind, it's not just about being good at chess. It's about achieving a certain ELO rating, which is a way to measure your skill against other players. Think of it like a global ranking system. To even qualify for the Olympiad at that age is phenomenal.
So these kids are basically the chess equivalent of elite athletes.
Yeah,
But instead of muscles, they're flexing their brain power.
exactly. And to see this surge in young talent, it begs the question, why now? What's changed that's allowing these kids to excel at such a young age?
Well, the article dives into a few reasons, and one of the big ones is access. It's not like the olden days with dusty chess books and hoping you could find someone, anyone, to play with us.
Right. The internet has completely revolutionized the game. Now you've got apps, online platforms. Kids can play against anyone in the world, 24/7. And the pandemic only accelerated this trend.
Right. Everyone's stuck at home, looking for ways to stay sharp, and suddenly online chess is booming. It's like the perfect storm. More players, more tournaments, more opportunities to practice and improve.
Exactly. Which brings us to another point the article raises, the unique way young brains learn. They draw a fascinating parallel to language acquisition.
Oh, like how kids pick up languages so much faster than adults.
Exactly. Younger brains are incredibly adaptable, what neuroscientists call plastic. They soak up information like sponges, especially when it comes to complex patterns and strategies, the kind you find in chess.
So it's not just about practice time. It's about how their brains are wired. That's incredible. Does the article get into the science behind this at all?
It does. It mentions some research about how certain cognitive functions, particularly memory, tend to decline with age. This could mean that younger players have an advantage when it comes to memorizing openings, recognizing patterns, and calculating variations quickly.
It's like their brains are supercomputers, processing information at lightning speed. So we've got increased access, more opportunities for practice, and potentially an inherent biological advantage. But the article then does something really interesting. It contrasts this trend in chess with what's happening in other sports, and it's completely different.
Right, which raises a whole new set of questions about what makes chess unique in this regard. But we'll delve into that fascinating comparison in part 2.
So it's like, we've got these young chess prodigies on one hand, absolutely crushing it, breaking records left and right. But then the article throws us this curveball. It's like, hold on a second. This youth movement isn't happening everywhere.
Yeah, in a lot of ways it's the opposite. In many physical sports, experience reigns supreme.
Exactly. The article specifically calls out tennis, gymnastics, even soccer, where older athletes are often the ones on top. So what's the deal with that? Why is chess different?
Well, the article points to a few key factors. One is the sheer physicality of these other sports. Take tennis, for example. The modern game demands incredible stamina and athleticism. Those rallies can go on forever.
And don't even get me started on gymnastics. The strength and flexibility they display is mind-blowing. To compete at that level for years, it takes a certain kind of physical resilience.
Right, and it's not just raw athleticism. Advancements in sports science, nutrition, training regimens, they're all contributing to longer, more successful careers in these fields.
It's like trying to break into an exclusive club. You've got these veterans at the top of their game, year after year, making it that much harder for young athletes to even get a foot in the door.
Exactly. It creates a very different competitive landscape compared to chess.
So circling back, what is it about chess that makes it so unique in this regard?
Well, the article argues that chess, at its core, is a mental battleground. It's not about how high you can jump or how fast you can run, but about strategy, pattern recognition, and the ability to think several moves ahead.
Which, as we discussed earlier, might actually play to the strengths of younger players with their adaptable brains and impressive processing power.
Yeah. It challenges that old adage, age and treachery will always overcome youth and skill. What happens when skill in a particular domain is increasingly defined by qualities that favor younger minds?
That's a really interesting point. Are we saying that all those years of experience, the thousands of hours logged on the court or the field, don't matter as much in chess?
Not necessarily. It's not that experience doesn't matter in chess. It's just that the balance might be shifting. The article reminds us that chess also requires mental resilience, psychological acuity, the ability to read your opponent, to anticipate their moves, to handle the pressure of a high-stakes match. These are qualities that often come with age and experience.
So it's almost like two different types of intelligence are at play here. You've got the raw processing power and adaptability of youth, and then you've got the wisdom and strategic depth that come with years of experience.
Exactly. And the article leaves us with this tantalizing question. As technology continues to evolve, as chess engines become even more powerful, will those older player skills, the ones that can't be replicated by an algorithm, become even more valuable?
Now that's a million-dollar question. What do you think? Will these young prodigies continue to dominate as they mature? Or will the veterans find new ways to leverage their experience and stay ahead of the curve?
It's hard to say for sure. But one thing is certain. We are witnessing a fascinating evolution in the world of chess. And this tension between youth and experience, between raw talent and strategic depth, is only going to make the game more exciting to watch.
It's like the article said, we might be entering a golden era for chess, a time of unprecedented talent and innovation. But there's another layer to this, right? It's not just about what's happening on the chessboard.
Exactly. This deep dive has taken us from 9-year-old chess prodigies to the evolving nature of competition itself. But the underlying themes, the questions it raises about talent, technology, and the aging mind, they resonate far beyond the world of chess. They make us question our assumptions about what it takes to excel in a rapidly changing world. And they remind us that the most fascinating game of all is the one playing out in our own minds.
It's like we've stumbled into this epic showdown, young minds absorbing information at warp speed, going up against these seasoned veterans who've spent decades honing their craft. It makes you wonder, could we see this kind of disruption in other fields too?
It's a question worth pondering. We've seen how technology has really upended traditional power structures in chess. Could we see the same thing happen in other fields? Fields that demand that similar cognitive agility, like coding, data analysis, even high-frequency trading.
Yeah, it's fascinating to think about. Like, are we on the cusp of seeing a whole generation of young coding prodigies taking Silicon Valley by storm?
It's not outside the realm of possibility.
Right.
But here's where the article takes another interesting turn. It reminds us that while these young chess stars are incredible at processing information, at recognizing patterns, at calculating variations with astonishing speed, there's more to chess than just raw computational power.
Right. It's not just about memorizing a bunch of openings or being able to see 10 moves ahead. There's a whole other layer of strategy, of psychology, of understanding your opponent's mind.
Exactly. And those skills, those nuanced judgments, that deep well of experience, those aren't things that you can download onto a hard drive. They're cultivated over years of playing, of studying your opponents, of learning from both your victories and your defeats.
So while a computer might be able to calculate millions of possible moves, it takes a human mind to understand the psychology behind those moves, to anticipate an opponent's strategy, to know when to bluff, when to attack, when to play it safe.
Exactly. And what the article suggests is that as chess engines continue to evolve, as they become even better at calculating variations and suggesting moves, those uniquely human skills, the ones that rely on intuition, creativity, and emotional intelligence might actually become even more valuable in the years to come.
So it's not just about man versus machine, it's about finding the right balance, the right synergy between human ingenuity and artificial intelligence.
Exactly. And that, I think, is the most profound takeaway from this deep dive. It's not just about chess. It's about understanding how we, as humans, adapt and thrive in a world that's constantly evolving, a world where technology is reshaping the very nature of competition and expertise.
It's about recognizing the strengths of both youth and experience, of embracing new technologies, while also remembering the enduring power of human intuition and creativity. So to our listener, we leave you with this. What other fields might be on the verge of a similar transformation? And as the lines between human and artificial intelligence continue to blur, what skills will be most essential for navigating the future, for staying ahead of the curve in a world where the only constant is change itself?